everyone, it's Nadia from YARNutopia. Today we are making this beautiful day and night kind of mesh sweater. I absolutely love this sweater so much. It looks so beautiful and it turned out way better than I expected. So I highly suggest you make this. You can use any two colors you like. So I'll get into the supplies real quick, and then I'll get into the frequently asked questions about measuring and sizing, and then we'll get into making this. So if you are ready for this tutorial, just skip over this intro and get to your project and get started. But to start out, I have to say a huge thank you to Lion Brand Yarn for providing this yarn today. I'm using two colors, but I used all of the gray in this project, so I only have this one to show. This is the white color. It is Hometown yarn. You can get it on their website. The link to purchase this online is in the description of this video, but if you just go to lionbrand.com and search the Hometown yarn, you can get any color you want, but I'm going to link the white and the gray colors in the description here. So you can get those, but I used 4 balls of the white and 3 balls of the gray, and I did not have any more left of the gray. But if you want a little extra, you can add some like fringe or more striping, or make your shirt longer or shorter. It's up to you. So I used 3 balls of gray and 2 balls of white, and it came around 600 yards, a little less than 600 yards of yarn. And this is a thicker yarn, so this is a size 6, super bulky, and I recommend using that size if you have if you cannot access Lion Brand Hometown. You can find a yarn equivalent. If you go to yarnsub.com, you can type in Lion Brand Hometown, and all the equivalent yarns in that size would come up, and you can choose the right size for you, or the right brand for you. I'm using a Q17 hook. This is 5.75 millimeters. You can use a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, but this is kind of like a lazy hook. It's plastic, large. I just got this at the craft store. So it came in a pack of 3. There was a little bit smaller one than this, and then an end hook. So you can use this hook for this project. And a scissors and a yarn needle are just useful to have, just so that you can cut your yarn and sew in a ton of ends. There's a lot of ends because we're changing color so frequently, so that is the only downside to this, but in the end it's worth it, and it's so fabulous, and I love it so much. So for sizing information, you can, let's see here, measure this one. This one will fit me. To make yours, you need to measure the largest part of your torso. So whether that's your chest or your waist or wherever, just measure the largest part of your torso and then divide by 2. And that should be the front panel. So I'm 40 inches around at the largest part of my torso. So this across is about 20 inches across. So we make the front panel and the back panel separately, and then we sew them together up the sides and on the shoulders there. So you want to make sure that each panel is half of the largest part of your torso. Okay? For the sleeves, you want to measure the sleeves, the length, or we're going to go around in circles like this. So this round around should be the largest part of your arm. So my upper arm is the largest part here, and this is a little bit looser, but mine measured to be 14 inches around my top part of my arm. So I made this a little bit looser, so it's about 16 inches around. So that is the arm. And we're just doing straight, no increases, no decreases, nothing. It is just 2 squares and 2 sleeves, no increases, no decreases, and this is how it turned out. It's just so fabulous. So you can make yours as big or small as you want it to be. I have 24 inches or 24 stitches across, but you can make yours 30 or 40 or however wide you need yours to be. And these are 18 stitches around, but like I said, you can make them 20 or 25 if you need them bigger, or smaller, 15 stitches around. make them a little tighter sleeve. And this is extremely stretchy because we are using this big hook. So you're making this super duper stretchy and it's going to be so fabulous. So that is sizing information, and obviously you can change color as often as you want. I change color every 5 rows on the body part, but on the sleeves I changed every 4 rows. But you can change every single row if you want to, or just leave it one plain color. It's all up to you. It's creator's choice. This is such an easy pattern and it works up very quickly. So that's all the information I have. Please, please thumbs up this video on YouTube, subscribe to our channel here on YouTube, leave a comment, whatever. I would love to hear if you make this. Please share a photo if you share it on Instagram, hashtag YARNutopia, so I can see your work. And make sure you like our Facebook page. All the links to all of our socials are in the description of this video. I'm just so happy to be making a video right now. This is so fun for me and I absolutely love crocheting, so I can't wait to share with you this tutorial. Thanks to my dad who's over my shoulder filming this tutorial for us and sharing it and editing it, everything. And thanks to Lion Brand Yarn for providing all the yarn for this project. This is awesome yarn and I absolutely recommend it. I'm going to get some more because I ran out of the gray and I absolutely love how thick this yarn is and how quickly the projects work up with this. It's so awesome. And thanks to you for watching. Any questions you may have, leave a comment. I will get back to you on YouTube. Otherwise, let's just get started and make this day and night mesh sweater. Alright, for this first part here, we're going to make the front and back panels. They are exactly the same, so you just have to make 2 of them. We're going to start off with a slip knot, so put your short end over your long end, then fold this down, and then pull your long end through and pull tight. Okay, and then you can insert your hook and we can start. So I'm using this Q17, this is 15.75 millimeters, but you can use a 16 millimeter or even go down a little bit to, I think there's like a 14 millimeter, no? Or 13 millimeter. You can use a smaller hook than this if you need to. Anyways, starting off, we're going to do a foundation double crochet. So we are going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and we are going to go in this third chain right here, and we are going to make our first foundation double crochet. So yarn over your hook like this, go into that chain that's right next to our slip knot there. Okay, yarn over and pull it through that chain. So now we have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and just pull through one of those loops. Okay, that creates our foundation chain. And now we have 3 loops on the hook still. We're going to finish this off like a regular double crochet. So yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. And there is our first foundation double crochet. Now you can see this is a very loose stitch. The piece is going to be pretty loose fitting, so we are going to go with that aesthetic there. So let's try again. We're going to do our second foundation double crochet stitch. You need to go to the bottom here. You can see this loop and this loop, and basically I can stick my finger through it because these stitches are so loose. But you can see here this loop and this loop. We're going to go down in there. But first we have to yarn over, go down into there under the one loop and the other loop. Okay, just like that. And then yarn over and pull it through. Okay, this is our foundation chain, so we just have to yarn over and pull through 1. And now finish these off with finishing your double crochet. So yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And there's our second foundation double crochet. Now in your project you can decide if you want this chain here to count as a stitch. I am not going to have that count as a stitch, so I'm just going to ignore this. So count 1, 2. I need to have 24 stitches across, okay? So if you count this one, you need 21 more. If you do not count this one, you need 22 more, okay? So I'm going to do that. So again, yarn over, go to the bottom of this previous stitch in this loop and this loop. It looks like your foundation chain too. This loop and this loop. So go in, okay, yarn over and pull it through. Whoopsie, did not hook on. There we go, pull it through. Yarn over, pull through 1. Yarn over, pull through 2. yarn over and pull through 2. And there's my third. So I need to have 24 of these across. Now if you need yours bigger or smaller, the way to do that is to measure the largest part of your front or back, it doesn't matter. So I measured across my chest. Okay, let me grab my handy dandy measuring tape. So I measured across my chest and it measured about 20 inches. Okay? So that's how long or how wide, I guess, I want this piece to be. About this wide. It's 20 inches. Okay, so I have to make my piece like this big. Okay? You can do as many stitches as you want. I'm going to do 24. That will make me have a 20-inch across piece, but your piece could be bigger or smaller. Now if your waist is bigger than your chest, you can measure across your waist, and that is how big your piece should be. Really the largest part of your torso, measure across, okay? And that is how wide your piece should be. Now I'm going to finish this row, and then once I finish row 1, I'll show you how to do row 2. Alright, the next step, once you finish your row of foundation double crochets, we're going to go into row 2. Chain 2, 1 and 2. You can turn your work around. If you prefer turning and then chaining 2, no big deal. And then we are going to actually work between the posts. So in these gaps between the posts, we're going to work in there. So we're going to double crochet, yarn over, go in between the posts, and do a double crochet. And just do that all the way across. Now for each row I did have to count, because each row I ended up having to double crochet into the last stitch. So I counted each row to be 24 stitches. Because I started in this gap here, you want to make sure that you have 24 stitches, so I did have to double crochet into the very last stitch to make it 24 stitches. And I'll show you that when I get there, but I'm just going to double crochet in between each stitch, and when I finish this row, I'll show you how to go on to row 3. Alright, I'm coming up on my last stitch here. Now, your stitch is, it could be in the actual stitch itself right here, or it could be in between these stitches. Just make sure you count across your piece and have the right amount of stitches all the way across, okay? And if you need to double crochet into the last stitch, mine here is the chain up stitch, so it would be right here. That's where you would insert your last stitch if you are 1 stitch short. But this one, this video tutorial prototype here is showing that I counted all my stitches across, and it fits right in that gap. Perfect. Now going on to the next row, chain 2, turn the work around, and just work into these gaps. Oh, and this chain 2 in the beginning here is not counting as a stitch for me in my project, so if you want that to count as a stitch, just skip then this gap here and just go into this gap if this counts as a stitch for you. Okay? So that's all you need to know here. Once I'm ready to change color, I'll come back and show you how to change color and how I'm doing it in my project, and then you can go on your way to making your front and back panels. Okay, so I just wanted to show you something before going on to the next step, because I will show you how to change color. On my front and back panels, I have these done off camera. I did 5 rows of this dark gray, then I changed color and did 5 rows of white, then 5 rows of dark gray, and then 5 rows of white. Okay, so that is the front panel, and the back panel is another piece, okay? And then for this little prototype though on the camera here, I want to show you how to change color. So I'm just going to do it on the 4th row on this little piece here. But remember, you should do 5 rows of this color, then 5 rows of your second color, then 5 rows of this first color, and then 5 rows of your second color. And you'll have 4 different sections. If you need it longer, obviously go longer with more change colors for 5 rows of each color, okay? So on this last piece here, or this last stitch here, we are going to start off by making a double crochet. So as you can see, yarn over, go into where your last stitch is going to go, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, but then hold these last 2 loops on the hook and grab your new color and kind of fold it in half like this and hook it on. And then pull it through those 2 loops and then pull your old color tight like that and pull your new color kind of tight. And I kind of wrap my new color around itself a couple of times and then I chain up 2 to go on to the next row. Okay, and pull everything tight. And then if you want to, you can tie the old color and the new color in a knot at the end here and then sew in those ends. But they won't fall apart, so I'm just going to sew in those ends. And you can cut this one, this old color, you can cut that and then sew those ends in. And I'll show you how to sew in ends a little later. But then you flip this around and then you just do it your double crochets with the new color exactly how you were doing them. And you can change color as often as you want in this project. I'm going to change it, like I said, 5 rows of the dark gray, then 5 rows of white, then 5 rows of dark gray, and then 5 rows of white and finish off. So I'm doing that. Okay, just make sure you work between the posts like this. And that is for the front panel, and then make another one for the back panel, just like that. Okay, so as you can see here, I have finished 2 pieces. Let me move this aside. So it's super simple, just double crochets. And this is what my front panel looks like. Just a big square, essentially. Okay, and then my back panel is here, and I did not finish it off yet because I wanted to show you how to finish off. Okay, so there's my second piece. So they're both exactly identical. Front piece and back piece are identical. Then what we're going to do to finish off, here, let me finish this stitching here. Okay, so for this last stitch, to fasten off, we're doing our double crochet, just like that, okay? And then we're going to chain 1. And you can cut your yarn pretty long because we are going to use that for sewing across the shoulder. Just these like few stitches here, these 6 or 7 stitches. I have to measure how big I want the head hole to be, the neck hole. So just chain 1 and then cut your yarn kind of long for sewing and pull it all the way through and then pull tight, and that is fastened off and it's not going to unravel or come apart. So now decide which piece you want the back to be and which piece you want the front to be, and we're going to line them up just like this. Okay, if you prefer, you can block your pieces as well. Blocking is pinning this down to a towel and spraying it wet, pinning it into the shape you want it to be, and then spraying it wet and letting it dry 24 hours. But I'm not going to do that because this is a very loose fitting, flexible piece and it will fit just fine on me. So what I'm going to do now is grab a needle, a sewing needle, yarn needle here, just like this one. Okay, and we are going to sew across this shoulder because this is where we have this long strand. It's probably a little too long actually. Let me cut it. Okay, and then we are going to yarn our needle with this strand. Okay, and we're going to sew these 2 pieces together. So first, we're going to measure here. This is the top of the shirt. I'm gonna cut. If I can talk, I'm gonna sew across to like here, and then I'm going to grab more yarn and sew from this corner to here, and this will be my head hole. Okay, so I'm thinking about 6 stitches for me on this side, and then 6 stitches on this side, and then we'll have our head hole in here. So I'm gonna do just a whip stitch, super simple. Whip stitching is lining up your stitches and just going from one side out the other and then back around, so we go in the same side every time, and then just line up the stitches, matching them. There's 2, next stitch, 3, next stitch, 4, 5, 6. I might go for a 7th just to see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That should be good. Maybe I'll do 8 on each side. Let's do 8 on each side. My head will still get in there, yeah. I'm going to do 8 on each side. You can kind of eyeball it where you want it, how big you want your center head hole to be. So 6, 7, or 8 stitches. I'm doing 8. Okay, then to fasten off, we're going to go around again, keep our finger in the loop. Okay, come back through the loop, pull that through, and then pull that tight, and that creates a little knot. Pull it tight, and then we'll do that again. So back through, keep your finger in the loop, come back through the loop, and then pull tight. Okay, then we are going to sew in this straggler. So I'm just going to hide it underneath some of these stitches here. Just like that. Okay. And to secure it, I like to go back and forth. Stretch it out, and then cut. And that is hidden underneath. Okay, then I need to grab more of this white yarn, and we are going to do the same thing to this opposite side for this other side shoulder. So we are going to yarn our needle. Okay, go from one side to the other side and do 8 stitches connecting. 1, 2, line them up, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Cool. And then just tie this end off, and you will have to also tie this end off because this was not attached to the piece from the beginning at all. So we'll have to knot both sides on that one. And then here's our head hole where our head is going to fit, and this is going to go around our neck. And then next I'll show you how to sew. We're going to leave an armhole for our arm to fit through, and then we'll sew down each side. So I'll show you that next after I tie these ends off. Alright, so I sewed this shoulder here. Here's our head hole, and here's the other shoulder that I sewed. Now I sewed that side off camera, so I'm going to show you how I sewed up the side. Basically what I did was kind of just line my colors up front and back. There we go. And I kind of just stuck my arm in at the top here where I want my armhole to be. And my arm fits here, and so it's like halfway through this gray and then the rest of the way down. Okay, so you can mark your stitches or your section here, and this is where the armhole will be, and we're not gonna sew this section here, but we are gonna sew from here down. But since there's two colors, I'm going to sew this white section first, and then I'm gonna sew this gray section and then move down to this gray section, okay? So, how the heck are we gonna do that? Let's yarn our needle with some white and start with that one. And we're just gonna whip stitch. So we're just gonna go from this side and just line up your colors. Okay, oopsie, there we go. So I'm just gonna go around in a circle type of way here, just like this, whip stitching. And I'm just going to do the white section and stop when it gets to the gray section. Okay, so we're at the gray section now. So I'm going to stop here, and then I'm going to tie this off just like I showed you on the shoulder. We're just going to go around in that loop, pull tight, and do that twice. Okay, and then this side, gotta yarn our needle and tie this side off. There we go. Okay, and then I'll sew in those ends in a minute, but then I want to show you the gray section. Okay, so now I have some gray yarn here, and I'm going to yarn my needle with that. Okay, just like that. And then I said about like halfway through, so around a little up maybe. Let me check. Yeah, so I did it like 2 rows down, so right here. Okay, and then I just whip stitch, but I have a longer strand for this one because we're actually going to trail it all the way down. Put this on this side, there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to whip stitch this gray. I know it's a little difficult to see the gray, but you get the idea. Just going in around and around, whip stitching. Okay, almost. Make sure you line up your stitches. I'm doing this a little fast for the camera, but you can obviously take your time and pause or rewind, whatever you need. Okay, so now I'm at this white section, but I don't want the gray to see through. So what I'm going to do is carefully weave this gray strand underneath some of the stitches on this side. Okay, just like this. And when we flip this inside out, it's not, or right side out, it's not gonna, you won't see this line, which will be nice. It'll be nice and hidden inside of the shirt. So yes, we are sewing this, you know, inside out. Okay, now on my other side, I liked that there was a slit, so if you want to just leave this and just sew this section and this section, and you have your armhole, and leave this open kind of like for flare and cute trendy style, you totally can, but I'm just going to sew halfway. Okay, so now I'm here, we're going to stretch this to make sure that it has stretch and it's not just bunched up. Okay, like that, stretched. And then I'm just going to sew halfway to here, and there will be like a little bit of a slit on my hips. Okay, when this, because this shirt is going to probably fall down to my hips. So we have to go around and around. Okay, and then I'll tie it off at the top and at the base here. And then once I have this all attached and sewn together, you can either be done at this point. Here, I'm going to tie it here. So I'm going to have this little slit left unworked, and I'm just going to tie my knot off here. But if you want to be done, you can have like a nice sweater vest type of look, and you can be done here, but I'm going to add sleeves. That's what I was trying to say. So I'm going to show you how to make the sleeves next. I'm just going to tie this off and weave in this end and hide it underneath my stitches. Okay, and then I'm going to cut that. Okay, then I have to tie this one. Sorry, my needle was in my mouth. Okay, so I have to tie these in and then tie this off. And then we are not going to put this right side out yet. It is going to be like this. I'm going to hide this on the inside. Nobody's going to see those. So you stretch it out. So that's what it looks like on the right side out. But we still have to make sleeves, so I will show you that next. Alright, welcome back. I know my nails are different color because we are filming on a different day, but we are going to finish this sweater together. So we are working on sleeves now. So I am going to, for the tutorial purpose, I'm going to use this white color, but you should start with the gray color. I just only have this much left, and for the tutorial purpose, I want to save this for sewing later. So I'm just going to do the tutorial part in this white color, but start with the dark gray color, or your second color. So we're going to start off with a slip knot. You already know how to do that. Okay, and we are going to also do foundation double crochets like we did at the base or the start of the sweater. You could chain, let's see, you could chain 20 and double crochet in the third chain from the hook and across and make your first row, but I'm going to do foundation double crochets. So I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to go into this third chain from the hook, yarn over, go into there, then yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 1, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2, just like I showed you earlier in this tutorial. So that's our first foundation double crochet. I'm going to make 18 of those. Now you can make more or less depending on how big you want your armhole to be, but that 18 stitches around for me is perfect to fit across or around my largest part of my arm, my upper arm. So if you want to measure your upper arm, you can do that and then make as many stitches as you need to that fits around your upper arm, or the largest part of your arm. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just making these foundation double crochets, yarn over, go at the base of the previous stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 1 to make the foundation chain, then yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2 to finish the double crochet. So I'm going to make 18 of these, and then once I have that, I'll show you what to do next. Alright, when you have enough stitches for your sleeve, for the round, make sure to, without twisting it, go like this, and connect the front and the back, so the first stitch and the last stitch. I made this one smaller for tutorial purposes, don't worry. My arm still fits in here though, so. Okay, so we're going to go to the very first stitch, so make it go around without twisting anything. Go into the very first stitch like this, and then yarn over and pull through and through the loop on your hook, and that connects it, so it's a loop. And then later on we're going to take this strand from our slip knot and sew it in to the base of this stitch and sew this together so that it is closed, okay? But for going on to the next round, what we're going to do is chain 1, turn our work around, and we're going to work in between the stitches. And for this one, if you want to, you can sew it right away so that it doesn't confuse you where to put your stitch. So I'll show you right away. We're just going to go to this side and connect the two. Okay, and then we'll sew that end in later, but that's connected just like that. Okay, so we want to turn our work so we're looking at the inside of the sleeve, and we are going to work in between these spaces between the stitches, just like how we did on the regular body part of the sweater. So right in here, and you want to make sure you have that same amount of stitches all the way around for the whole sleeve. So I had 18 stitches around here. Okay, so we're going to double crochet. So if you need to chain 2 to get to your height, that's fine, but I make my stitches quite loose, so I'm just going to chain 1 and start double crocheting in between the stitches like this. In between the posts, yeah, just like that. And we're going to go all the way around, and then we're going to connect just like how I showed you. We're going to slip stitch, and then turn your work around, and then for row 3 work looking at the outside. And we're just going to keep doing that just like how we worked on the main part of the sweater. It's the same concept, but working in around, and then slip stitching, chaining up, and moving on. I'm running out of yarn here obviously, but I'll show you the sleeve that I finished. And you can see here I have my striped sleeve. You can zoom out a little here so you can see. So I did start with gray, so this is where I started on my piece, but also I ran out of gray off camera, so yeah, this is what it looks like. And for when I changed color, what I ended up doing was fastening off and just inserting my new color into between one of the stitches and moving on to the next row for that color. You can make your sleeves plain, one color all the way up, or you can change color as frequently as you want. You could change color just like how I showed you for the main part of the sweater, but this is what I came up with. Just make sure to turn your work every row and just double crochet in between the stitches. Okay, if you have any questions about this, you can comment on this post and I will reply back to you on YouTube, so you can do that. But yeah, this is what the sleeve ended up looking like. So now we want to attach this. Well, you have to make 2 of these. I made one off camera, or I made both of them off camera, but I sewed one on already. So I'm going to show you how to sew this one to your shirt. So this is what it looks like. We're sewing everything inside out, and this is how it looks. I sewed it around here. Okay, so this is the sleeve, and it's sewed on in the armhole that we had created when we sewed down the side. Okay, so I am going to grab the other side here. Okay, so I sewed up this side of the shirt and this shoulder. I showed you that earlier. Okay, so we're just going to attach this. Oh, to fasten off, I didn't fasten this one off yet. So to fasten off, we just slip stitched to the first stitch, chained 1, cut our yarn, and pulled it all the way through and pulled that tight, and that is secured. Okay, so, and I did 4 rows. I did 4 rows of gray, 4 rows of white, 4 rows of gray, and 4 rows of white. I know on the main part of the sweater we did 5 rows each, but I was running out of yarn and the length of the sleeve was getting too long for me, so I did 4 rows each. But you can do however many rows of sleeve you want, however long you want to make your sleeves, or you can skip the sleeves altogether. It doesn't matter. So this hole here is going to be attached to this sleeve hole here, and we're going to sew it. Okay, so I'm going to sew it using, or actually I want to make sure I'm doing this right, because I think on this side I did gray, sorry. So I sewed it this way. I mean, it doesn't really matter, you can do it opposite, that'd be kind of fun. Sorry, don't look at my mess. Okay, so this side I sewed the gray side to the body of the shirt, so I'll sew this gray side to the body. And your seam, my seam is here, so you want to have that in the armpit, and this is where my armpit is, and this is where the top of the shoulder is, so we're just going to line it up just like that. That way that seam will be underneath your arm and nobody will see that. Cool. And I have to grab my yarn needle, there it is, and I'm going to sew it on with the leftover gray yarn that I have from this, and that should be enough. Okay, so we're going to start at the armpit seam here and this seam here. And like I showed you how we sewed up the side, we're just going to sew this up like a whip stitch. Okay, so line it up, go in and in, both layers, and then pull. Okay. And we're just going to go around. But you want to go on the same side every time. So wrap it around and bring it through. Okay, and if you need to pin it, you can do that. Take your time, make sure you're getting your stitches in. Don't miss any stitches so there's any holes, all that stuff. So I'm just going around. Here's the next stitch. Here. Cool. Okay, obviously I'm going a little fast for the tutorial, but you can obviously pause and catch up. But yeah, just make 2 of those sleeves and then just double crochet in between each stitch. I'm trying to think if I'm missing any information to share with you. But as you can see, I'm just whip stitching. So once I finish whip stitching this all around, I'll come back and I'll show you how to tie this off, and then all you have to do is just do the same thing for the other sleeve, and then we can be done. Alright, I just made it back around, so you can see here it's all the way around that I whip stitched, and just stretch it out just to make sure that it's not like too tight of a sew job. Yep, and then we're going to actually turn these to the beginning strand and the end strand. We're just going to tie them in a knot. Okay, and then I'm just going to take those 2, actually I'll do one at a time, and I'm just going to sew them in underneath the stitches and just go back and forth a few times. And it's secure and it's not going to fall apart, and it looks fabulous. Then the last thing you have to do is just turn this right side out and you have your sweater. So let me check it out here real quick. Let me just sew this end in and then we'll flip it around. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was easy. It was quick, you know, like with the thick yarn and the big crochet hook. Making this loose stitch. You can make multiple sweaters like this. Alright, and cut this. Alright, now let me flip this out, see if there's any more strands I have to sew in. There was a lot of yarn to sew in. That was I wouldn't really call it a problem, but frustrating to sew in ends, but no big deal. There was a lot of yarn ends to sew in, but there we go. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is really cute actually. I like when I make something and I like actually like it. It's fun. I mean, I like a lot of the things I make, but when you're not sure in the end, look at that! How fun! Thank you so much for watching and learning how to make this with me. This was awesome. I'm gonna go try it on, make sure it fits me, take some pictures in it, feel fabulous in it. But yeah, that was great. Alright, thank you to Lion Brand Yarn for providing this fantastic hometown yarn for us today to use in this project, and thanks to my dad who's over my shoulder filming this whole tutorial for everybody to watch on YouTube. He's editing, uploading it to YouTube, so make sure you check out our channel, subscribe to our channel, and thanks to you for watching. Alright, have a great rest of your day. Until next time, happy hooking!